All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks again so much for taking the time to be a part of this. For those of you who haven't yet had the privilege to meet, my name's Kyle Pottinger. I'm the GM of the sports entertainment vertical here for Conversica, and on behalf of our entire organization, welcome to the inaugural Sports and Live Entertainment Forum. We're super excited to have this time with all of you today. We've got an exciting agenda in store, and really looking forward to using this time to speak to where Conversica is at, where AI in sports is at, and some of the key use cases we're seeing that are most impactful within the teams that we're actively working with. So we'll jump right into it. Today's agenda. So we'll have our CEO, Mike Gilson, provide some insight into Conversica as a whole, some of the key focuses we have as it relates to conversational AI and conversational AI in sports. I'll take some time to speak to what we're seeing across sports and live entertainment. And then one of the key goals from this forum is to use the time to provide all of you with some tactical insights that you can put into action within each of your respective teams. So we're going to have Madison Aldis and Ashley Campisi from the Spurs and Giants provide some insights into the use cases that they're seeing prove most successful within each of their respective markets. And then we'll save some time with our director of product, John Sanzone, to speak to our technology as a whole and some of the key things that him and his team are working on putting into action that we believe are going to be extremely impactful for the teams that are implementing them and some of which are already in action today. So as we go through this forum, a few key objectives. One, very simply, we want to use this time to highlight some of the key things that are working and helping teams sell more tickets and sponsorships. We also want to use this time to really showcase how our goal is to act as a thought leader within this space and create a forum for that cross team and cross league idea sharing. While AI is a hot topic across the world right now, within live entertainment, it's still a relatively new concept. And so, how we can help in guiding those conversations and sharing those best ideas and best practices is a key commitment that we're making today and going forward. And then lastly, we want your feedback. Each of you are working hard within your markets, within your organizations. And so using this forum and some of the follow-up items coming out of here to provide that opportunity to obtain feedback, to hear where your focus is at, where your key concerns are at, and discussing how we can be most impactful as a partner in helping you solve them is a big focus of this forum as well. We've all sat on enough calls, whether it be lead calls, whether it be industry calls that are not collaborative and where there's not a ton of participation. And typically, the best ones I've ever been a part of are the ones where there's collaboration, there's discussion, there's questions. So we want to hear from you. So as we go through the forum here today, please use the chat function to post your questions. And I'll get to those as best I can as we go through this conversation. So with that, I'll kick it over to Mike Gilson for an update from our CEO.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you, Kyle. First off, it's great to be here. I mean, it's very exciting to get this community together, and this is week 5 for me at Conversica. So in some ways, I'm new to the company, but over the last month, I've gotten a chance to connect with many of you, either in person or virtually. But I still have a long way to go to meet all of you. But it's been, time well spent from that perspective. And I would say I've really learned a lot from this industry, from this cohort of not only our customers, but prospects that we're talking to as well. And a few things have really stood out to me, right? And I think there's some fundamental challenges that this industry is facing. I think it's no secret to all of us. I mean, this is big business for sports, right? I think the advent of premium experiences and the amount of investments that teams are making, both into talent, but also just into venues and what have you. It's an incredible opportunity to kind of seize the moment. And I think what was been crystal clear to me has been teams are expected to do a lot more with a lot less. And I think that presents a very real challenge as you start to navigate this changing landscape. And I think, I'll get to Conversica in a minute, but just in terms of just to paint the picture for this group, I think as many of us are now aware, I think this technology landscape that's impacting sports and entertainment specifically has changed dramatically in the last 12 months. And I think what we've seen is that really the emergence of large language models, the emergence of what is now, call it modern conversational AI, has introduced a paradigm shift. And I think this is a once in a generation type of moment where I think everyone, ourselves included, are trying to get a sense for how this world is going to shift quite dramatically. And I think from our perspective, having been an AI vendor for several years, we have a unique vantage point into how this environment will change and evolve. And I think that the key thing I think for this group is I think it's very safe to assume that your consumers, your fans are going to start expecting a lot more from the experience that they have with your team and franchise. And I think what is now becoming mainstream is this notion of a conversational experience in regards to having that experience with the sports team. And I think, when we're talking about sports generally, we're talking about massive fan bases. And I think trying to connect with those fans at scale presents a very real challenge. And in some ways, Conversica operates from the premise of conversations drive revenue, first and foremost. And it's not spammy emails, it's not an SMS blast, it's not pick whatever channel that you want. It's actual, real, intelligent conversations that can connect to a fan. And I think that's what will drive revenue for all of these teams and for this industry is having the most impactful conversations across channels. And I think if you think about just what our mission statement is, if you will, it's really to help teams, sports teams, drive revenue across those key buckets that in some ways are mission critical to the way in which all of you do business. So things like season ticket memberships, premium inventory, what have you. I think these are areas where this is in some ways the lifeblood of your organizations. And I think from our view, conversations underpin every one of these areas. If you do not have the ability to have intelligent conversations across channels, you cannot grow and evolve in this new paradigm. And I think from our perspective, Conversica is laser focused on enabling teams to have those conversations at scale in the communication medium of your choice. But really, it's designed to help you engage with your fans, to guide them through a purchase experience that will translate into new premium sales, new sponsorship sales, season ticket memberships, in some ways, the lifeblood of your company. That's what we're designed to do. And I think with this new notion of a conversational interface, in some ways, it will completely transform commerce as we know it. And more of these transactions will happen through natural language conversations, much like we're having a conversation today. We're at this point now with our technology where that's the expectation that fans will have for your team and for this ecosystem. So I think from our perspective, we have a clear vantage point into how to leverage this technology to do precisely this. But my message really to all of you is this environment is changing so rapidly. It's really important to, in some ways, stay ahead of this trend because I think this trend specifically will completely transform the way commerce works for sports and entertainment today. And I think from my perspective as CEO of Conversica, I'm really here in some ways to partner with you and help guide you along this journey because it's really a journey at the end of the day. I think to really harness this new technology at scale in the way in which all of us in some ways need to stay relevant in this new paradigm, it's really important that we have a really strong partnership together. And just so all of you are aware, we take this responsibility incredibly seriously. So we're making huge investments into our technology stack, into building out our team to really help all of you in this new paradigm. And so lots more to come on this. But my message to all of you really is, we're here to really help you solve some fundamental challenges. And I think we're the first ones to tell you that this new paradigm will present a new set of challenges that many of you probably haven't thought about yet. And I think being able to rapidly adapt into this new world, if you will, is going to be critical if we're going to kind of execute on that fundamental premise of doing more with less. And so I think that's really my message to all of you. And I would say really for everyone, just know that you have a direct line of communication to me. I'm really here to help you and partner with you. And I really do value these relationships, which is really why I wanted to bring this community together today. And I'm very happy that we've been able to do this. So I hope we can do a lot more of these. But I think this challenge, if you will, also presents an incredible opportunity. And I think that's what I'm most excited about. And I think Kyle and John and others will walk you through kind of what our vision is here, and how we can better help you. But at the end of the day, we're really here to be your partners, and I think that's really an important point that we want to communicate. So I think with that, Kyle, if you want to take it away, that's really the key things that I wanted to communicate to this group.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. And once again, for the people on the call, please use that chat function or the raise your hand function. If you raise your hand, we'll have someone from our team click on you to allow for you to speak. Chat function, I'll ask that question on your behalf. So if there are any questions for Mike, please use either of those elements. But Mike, thanks so much for the insight. So as we look at the sports vertical as a whole, one, I think looking at this forum and the engagement, the excitement within this forum, we had over 60 organizations from around the world that RSVP to be a part of the forum here today, and seeing that level of engagement and excitement just showcases how much focus there is on AI. It's been one of my big takeaways over the past 2 months is over the course of the past 3 years, really, there's been a significant transformation where the mindset from teams around AI has gone from should we use AI to how do we use AI? It's really not a matter of whether or not you're using it, it's just how you're using it. And the teams that are leading in on it and getting most aggressive and looking at the full customer journey to determine where they can incorporate AI to be most impactful, not only for the customer experience, but also for their team member efficiency, are the ones where we're starting to see them get out ahead of the competition. But once again, did want to take a moment just to highlight the amount of participation we've seen on this forum today, and thank all of you for taking the time for getting on board. We recognize all of you have busy schedules, high demanding jobs, so you taking the time to be here today is a testament to the excitement around AI, and our commitment to again act as leaders within this space. So what are we seeing? For a long time within sports, there was the old adage of 100 phone calls per day, and that was something that all of us kind of rested our hats on, as far as the idea that if there was enough volume input from your sales team members, that if they execute a sound sales process, as a result, they would generate the revenue numbers that you were working towards. I think we're starting to see that develop within AI in more of a modernized take, where that input, as opposed to it being the sales team member making 100 phone calls, is really based on the AI virtual assistant making that outbound motion to a large enough volume of leads to engage, take through the process, and develop them towards that point of purchase, whether that be a handoff to a sales or service team member or a handoff to a direct link where they're purchasing online. But one of the key things with Conversica is we send all of our emails out through AWS. And so the scalability has been a huge focal point from the partners we're working with, where we have some partners sending out as many as 10,000 emails per day and just really trying to get as wide as they can in engaging their markets, developing those leads, and warming them through the process. Over the last 12 months alone, we've sent out 19 million emails, messages, I should say, through the Conversica platform in sports and live entertainment. So the output is significant amount around the amount of messages that are going out to our fans. From that 19 million messages, we're seeing about an 8.3% engagement rate, which we define engagement as a response from a client engaging in a two-way conversation and beginning that conversation path forward to lead them towards that point of purchase. Over the course of the last 12 months, based on that engagement rate, we've had 266,000 total leads that have reached that point of two-way conversation and begun the process of going through the customer journey, leading to that point of handoff. As they've gone through that process, it's ultimately led to 85,000 leads that have gotten to that hot lead status, which is basically that direct handoff to a sales or service team member or that link to purchase. So as you think about this, the volume of leads that are going through these conversations is so significant. And the AI models are working those leads in through these conversations as efficiently as possible. A lot of our focus right now is grounding them in those key product areas that you're focused on, whether that be new ticket sales, group ticket sales, premium, or even sponsorships, and really continuing to prove the AI conversation in a way that allows our success rate to continue to grow and improve upon itself. So, did want to take a moment and highlight these numbers, but drilling down even further, what are we seeing over the last 6 months specifically? Over the last 6 months, as it relates to new plans specifically, we've had over 1 million leads worked. These leads worked are engaging at just under 8%. Just under 3% is getting to that hot lead status. And one of the key metrics that we're focused on is that time to hot lead. All of us focus within the sports industry on how quickly can we execute the sales process. What we're seeing from these leads and through these conversational models is not only are we able to engage a large volume of leads, we're also improving the efficiency and that speed to get to that point of handoff to a sales or service team member. So within our new plan outreach campaign, specifically targeting past buyers and ticketed transfers, we're able to execute that path to handoff over the course of 12 days. We're also seeing a big focus on group and suite rentals, and you'll hear Madison and Ashley both speak to how they've approached this within the Spurs and Giants organizations. But for group and suite rentals, we've worked 163,000 leads over the course of the last 6 months alone. 9% engagement, 3% of those are becoming hot leads, and also holding true to that 12-day path to get to that hot lead status and hand it off to the team member or a link to purchase. Within member experience, this has become more of a focus specifically over the last year, but where teams initially started with Conversica was primarily focused on new sales outreach campaigns, right? Targeting new ticket plans, targeting group sales. Where we're starting to see a big shift in focus is around the member experience campaigns, specifically around collections. And collections, for me personally, when I was leading an experience team on the team side, I viewed that as one of our most inefficient processes that we executed each month, where I saw my service team members get in this cat and mouse game trying to chase down their members to collect that monthly payment, and it turned what once was a positive relationship with their member experience rep, it turned it into more of a challenging relationship and really changed even the perspective of their rep. Where teams are starting to see a big impact from Conversica is launching their collection motion through the Conversica platform. And the way they've approached this is in a way where if somebody misses their monthly payment, they deploy the Conversica virtual assistant. That virtual assistant recognize or highlights that they've missed a payment and really approaches it as, can I help you get back on track with your payment? Once they engage, at that point, it's a handoff to a direct link to, in most cases, their account manager page to where they can go in and update their payment. But the impact this has had on service teams has been significant in that they're able to now have the bandwidth to focus on some of the more complex issues. But for the client, it allows them to save face as well. They're not forced into a phone conversation to where they have to explain why they missed payment, but rather they can go online, update their payment processing, and continue about their member journey. But the engagement rates within this outreach campaign in particular has been extremely high, with 32% engagement, and 44% of those engaged leads are clicking on the link to go in and update their payment method. Days to that hot lead status where it's getting handed off to a team member of that link, it's just 5 days. So again, really high engagement, really efficient process, and frees up your service team members to focus more on those complex items that are coming their way versus going through that cat and mouse game of chasing down payment. I did want to take a moment and highlight the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I believe Clarissa from the Pirates is on the call. So, Conversica team, if we can unclick or allow Clarissa to speak, that'd be great because would love her additional color around some of the key stats that they've shared. Um, So as we look at the Pittsburgh Pirates, a big focus for the Pirates has been going through some A/B testing as far as what they're seeing for those leads that are going through Conversica versus those leads that are going straight to their team members. And what they're seeing is for those leads that are going through the AI virtual assistant, they're seeing a 22% higher conversion rate. Once it gets handed off to a sales team member to get to that point of actually closing the deal, it's requiring two less touch points and the sales executed in 50% less time to get to that actual close. As you look at the whole volume of sales that they've generated over the course of the last several months, the sales are remaining flat. So whether it goes to a team member or it goes directly through Conversica, the final revenue total is flat in both scenarios. But for those leads that are going through Conversica, they're proven to be significantly more efficient, both in speed to close, number of touch points from the team member, and ultimately wanting to engage with a team member. So, Clarissa, I'll kick it to you for any additional perspective around this. But when you guys shared these insights, I was excited to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, really by using Conversica over the past few years, it's allowed our sales process to completely change. It's allowed us to close leads more effectively, efficiently, quicker, and with a lot less effort. So instead of focusing on cold calling, we're able to have the reps focus on pipeline health and how they're moving prospects through that sales cycle. And when they're moving their prospects through that sales cycle, and are being more effective in these areas, they're able to receive more qualified leads since they're in a position to do so, and have that time on their hands. So we've really tried hitting all sorts of audiences and buyers in Conversica to understand the level of impact. But looking at 2025 and beyond, we're really focusing on running all of our best leads through Conversica, like our refunnels, our renewals, as well as some of our other qualified opportunities through things like our marketing automated journeys, and ultimately our inbound inquiries, with the ultimate goal to focus on the top 20% of our best leads, knowing that yields about 80% or more of our rep driven total revenue. So Conversica has been a super helpful tool for us, and has really transformed our sales process in a great way.
That's amazing. Thanks for the insight. How's the feedback from your sales team members around Conversica for those as they get those leads and begin going through the process? What type of feedback are you getting from the team members?
Yeah, it's definitely, I think at first was a little bit of a learning curve, but it's gotten a lot better over the years, especially as our agent has helped and kind of learned what people are responding to. But yeah, we've had great feedback. People love Chelsea, our AI agent around here. So it's been very helpful, and reps are really able to truly focus on the relationship building rather than those small sales. We can have our AI agent focus on the small sales, sending the link so people can directly buy from there rather than having a rep have to actually work on those small sales.
Absolutely. Great insight. Thank you, Clarissa. Any questions for Clarissa or the Pirates, please use the chat. I did want to take a moment and ask for some insight from Jason Cohen, which Cohen, I don't know why there's three of you on this call. I don't know which one is you, Jason Cohen, with the New York Jets, but I know the Jets have been aggressive in how they've approached just that volume outreach while maintaining a big focus on team member efficiency. So Cohen, is there any insight you can provide on that? Just how you guys are approaching this and some of the outputs you're seeing on the back end?
Yeah, Kyle, Jason Cohen's a popular name. It's a great name. So there might be a few of us on here, but we've used Conversica from the jump. We've been on with you guys for 2.5 years now, about. And what we've seen as we've ramped up over the years is it just allows us to broaden our outreach and try and get in touch with as many people as we possibly can. We have, everybody's situation's a little bit different. We have the largest stadium with seating capacity in the NFL, so for us to be able to move inventory and move volume, having Conversica is just a great tool for us to be able to get in touch with as many people as possible in conjunction with our staff being aggressive with their outreach. Ultimately, our strategy with leads has evolved over those 2.5 years. Originally, we started by saying, hey, why don't we put those leads that we we rank and score lower, bottom of the barrel, and put them through and see how we can monetize them. And we still do that, but we've certainly gotten more creative with which leads we put through, why we put them through, different priority ranks and scores, and specifically targeting them, whether it be for games, group nights, different products, etc. Most recently, we've had a ton of success retargeting our non-renewed season ticket base and going after them with a mini plan that we rolled out this year. So we've had just a ton of success using the platform and getting as many good hot leads and good conversations into the hands of our reps as possible so they can do what they do best.
Great insight, Jason. Thank you. And it's actually a really good lead in. So we'll transition over to hearing directly from the Spurs and Giants on some of the things that they've seen great success with, and some of this I think will pull or reference some of the things you heard from the Pirates as well as the Jets. But again, huge thank you to Ashley Campisi and Madison Aldis for taking the time to be on the call. Madison, I got to call it out. You've had a busy past 24 hours after being at NBA Finals Game 3 last night and flying back in time to be on this call. So thanks for coordinating the travel in a way that you're able to be on this call.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
We will kick it off with Ashley from the Giants. So Ashley, your show, but we'd love to hear about some of the great things that are working at the Giants, specifically around suite and premium ticket sales.
Sure. I'll just run through kind of how we've been using Conversica over the last 2.5 seasons now to support the suite and premium products. Mainly what we focus on in these campaigns are the traditional suite rentals, so the 12 to 50 person spaces on our suite level, but we've also been using it to try to get the word out about new hospitality spaces, premium seatings, kind of everything under that premium umbrella, not just suite rentals. The reason why we've really leaned heavily on Conversica and kind of the business challenges that led us to that point was really to support a small sales team. So we have a limited bandwidth for those on our premium sales team. There's only 4 folks who are account managers on that side of the business. We get additional support from inside sales, but really just saw a bit of a gap there in terms of how much they were able to execute with the colder leads. We also see a dip in terms of conversion rate on inbound leads coming in from suites. So compared to groups and on some level memberships, suites perform a little bit lower. So we get high volume of interest, but predictably when folks learn more about the products or prices, those conversion rates fall off. So needed to try to supplement those inbound numbers that were a little lower, and then just kind of addressing business, kind of changes in general over the past several years. We have seen a pretty significant drop in our B2B suite business and premium sales. So that customer group is much more of an even split between consumers and businesses now, where really kind of pre-COVID, it was a much higher volume of businesses. So we're trying to use Conversica to build up that the B2B side of that premium business as well. And then lastly, I just mentioned we've added some new spaces to the mix. So just trying to use this tool to get the word out about those new opportunities. We're a little limited in terms of what we can do on the broader marketing side. If folks aren't opted into our messages, they're not getting them. So we've really seen Conversica as a great way to get to new audiences, show them new spaces without having to go through the traditional registered user hurdles. And then just kind of ways this has worked for us. We've really gotten to expand the audience of customers we can go out to. So where reps are primarily focused on renewals or folks who purchased the year before, we can go back several seasons. We can pull larger lists of past buyers from 18, 19, 20, 21. Same thing with inbound leads. So high volume of folks who came in as a web form inquiry that didn't eventually buy. We can run those back through. We've also tried to do more with like truly cold lists that we pull from sales intel or Zoom info, just trying to test different verticals, test different kind of proximity to the ballpark, different messages. We did one this year where we used this as an event marketing tool. So we tried to get folks that were close to the ballpark to come out to a suite event here, which actually worked pretty well. So those, in addition to the traditional kind of like single game ticket buyers where there's a high volume, but reps aren't necessarily going to be able to kind of execute that full cadence. Seen some success with those who purchase, tickets of $200 or more, funneling them through a suite campaign. Again, not going to get the full attention from a small sales team, but a good use for Conversica. Um,
Actually, just one question about that. Really good insight. Your point on the new premium spaces, I think, is a challenge for most teams and organizations across the country are investing millions upon millions of dollars in creating these beautiful new premium areas within their venues. It's really challenging when relying just on the ticket purchasing, the online ticket purchasing map where they're looking at dots to see everything great that goes into these different spaces and educate the fan on why that price tag makes sense above and beyond just the seat location. Can you share a little bit more insight just around how you guys incorporated the AI outreach in the mix for these new premium spaces and how it works and just educating the fan base?
Yeah, definitely. And that, what you just said, Kyle, was a big part of that challenge where if they're just purchasing through our, traditional purchase flow, they're not getting the full feeling or experience. And we're sort of limited in ways we can kind of paint that picture. So one big piece that has helped us was our partnership with Suite Pro, where we can sell these spaces online and add a lot more imagery in a way that's a little bit more engaging than what we can do through our MLB site. But the other part that we really found value in with Conversica was just using the dynamic fields and the copy to kind of try to paint that picture and add a little bit more of an experiential, spin to it. So while it's always best to get them to the website where they can view photos and inclusions and transact, what we couldn't necessarily do with that is kind of explain more about what that experience or try to create that like emotional connection to some of the new and exciting spaces that kind of just doesn't come through on its own if you're finding it on a website. So I think definitely we'll be doing more of that as we kind of bring spaces online and want to try to kind of use new parts of the ballpark.
No, it's a good call out, and I'm glad you mentioned Suite Pro. I think for teams on the call, the suite rental purchasing process has always been kind of a clunky one, and you haven't been able to do it online. So hearing how you guys are partnering with Suite Pro to make it that much more straightforward of a buy flow is really smart, and it's great to hear that Conversica is helping with the education around that, and Suite Pro has a great platform that for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it allows buyers to essentially buy their single night rental online without ever having to engage with the sales team member, which at this point, if people can buy cars online, the opportunity for them to go in and just buy a suite rental online and remove all friction points, it's a great opportunity to think about how you can pull it into action for your market and your team.
Yeah, definitely. We kind of went through most of the bullet points in the solution section, but just the last thing I'll touch on there. No, it's okay. And it will go into the next slide, but the last thing I'll touch on is just also involving our customer service and client relations teams in the process. So we've started to do more over the last year with targeted suite offers for our season ticket members. So that team is always, of course, taxed for time and focused on renewals. And once we're in season, they're busy delivering on customer service benefits for members. But we've been able to leverage Conversica to deliver some targeted suite offers specifically for members. So eventually those hot leads, they still get to their rep, but they're dealing with dozens instead of having to make thousands of calls to find the few that are interested in taking advantage of these offers. So that was one of our more successful campaigns, and we'll look to do more of the kind of cross-selling suites to other customer groups, just given kind of like one, it helps deliver clear sales messages, especially for groups who aren't executing sales calls as frequently. So by the time they get, the lead into their hands as a hot lead, it's sort of more transactional or service based as opposed to kind of asking those really service focused questions, which they're not as experienced with. So that's been a way we've kind of grown the product too.
So we got a question from Mike from the Conversica team. Before I kick it to Mike, though, I just want to double click on one thing that you said because I think it's a question that all teams get and can be a hot button within their service teams. The way you're approaching this is the Conversica motion is supplementing their service team member, determining the hand raiser, and then it's getting handed off. The lead's getting handed off to their service team member to actually complete the transaction. Correct?
Correct. Yep.
How's the feedback been from the team around that? I'm sure there was some maybe initial resistance feeling like somebody else is talking to their clients.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely a little initial resistance. There was, we ran through the messaging together, and we'll talk about this for suite renewals too, but it was much more sensitivity on the membership side because there's long lasting relationships there, but we were careful to position each, message as I'm reaching out on behalf of your client relations manager. I would say we got a handful of like, oh no, who are you? Where's Greg? He's been my account manager for 10 years. But I mean, I think the benefit there is like, typically once they engage at that level, it's being put on our radar and that person's engaging. So that in itself is a win. And we can quickly say, oh no, this is a colleague who's helping me reach out with some sweet offers. I don't typically, share those with you. So we wanted to make sure you saw it. So I think really using that like intro conversation starter to clarify that they're reaching out on behalf of the client relations manager or the sales rep is has been a good way to kind of overcome that. But essentially like, once the campaigns have played out and reps have sort of benefited from not having to make the hundreds and hundreds of calls and just getting, their members who are saying, yes, I'm interested in buying a suite on a Monday, like that piece really kind of like sealed the deal for the rest of the team once they saw it actually sort of play out in that way.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Mike, I'll kick it to you if you want to ask your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, actually, when we connected a couple of weeks ago, and you actually alluded to it a little bit earlier around just some of the customer targets in regards to verticals for some of the premium campaigns that you're running. Maybe just for the group here, I'd be curious to learn a bit more about the types of industries that you target for that type of space.
Yeah. So far we've only done a couple of these really like cold outreach campaigns, and we've used like I said, sales intel to source the leads from, but it's really been more like distance or geographic based than it has been like specific industries or verticals. We've been trying to like use it as a way to engage people who we know are, within a decent proximity of the ballpark who might be able to come down on a day game to bring their teams out, which is a space we really have struggled in, where we used to see, suites used to sell out every day game. Now it's a little bit tougher to fill the ballpark on those Wednesdays or Thursdays. So I don't have much to share in terms of specific industries. We've kind of gone more like geography based with those and seen some success, but that is a space we'll be trying to test more for sure in the future.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
We can continue on to the next slide if you're done with that last one, Ashley.
Yeah, and I won't go through every number here because there are a lot, but I just wanted to kind of share on the results side kind of how we, analyze these campaigns and some of the metrics we use to judge what's working and what's not. Through Tableau, we have a board where we can look at all campaigns, but specifically on the Conversica side, just to break down, the various campaigns we've run each season, how many contacts we put through them, how many of them turn into opportunities, which would mean how many of them turn hot. And then of those, like how many contacts are, taking place to close, average deal close size. You can kind of see, although it's small, how the headers at the top in terms of all the different ways we try to judge success with these campaigns. Overall, we're generating about 500,000 in suite and premium revenue per season. So that's been pretty consistent over our last 3 seasons. The best performing new sales campaign was a past buyer campaign. So that'd be folks who didn't come out in 24, but came out in 23 or earlier. That did well last year and is so far on the new sales side, our best campaign for this year at a 16% close rate. And I just wanted to note, kind of the difference between what we see on close rates for Conversica campaigns on the suite side, or those that are just kind of pure rep outreach, excluding, renewals. So anything that's new on the Conversica side, we're seeing 15% close rate. On campaigns that are purely rep outreach, we're seeing 12%. So definitely a nice increase there when we're running these through Conversica. I did want to note our biggest sale generated through a suite Conversica campaign was an $18,000 560 ticket suite. Our biggest suite was generated through a hot lead through a past buyer campaign. So again, really nice to see kind of the opportunity to move some of our higher value products through Conversica. And then just as an engagement highlight, inbound follow-up and win back request call conversations on our end have generated the highest engagement. So that's between the 21 and 29 range, but those are that's the skill I'm using most frequently when building those suite and premium campaigns. And then, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but just to kind of paint the picture, overall revenue distribution across all of our Conversica campaigns. So suite and premium making up the largest share at 44%, memberships 18, and groups at 38. Obviously, the suite and premium revenue is going to be a higher revenue product than groups and memberships for the most part. But kind of compared to the distribution we see across all other campaigns, it's still a bit higher. So again, I think just to illustrate the point that like it's been a successful tool for us to drive Sweet and Premium revenue, and it continues to make up a big share of the revenue we generate through Conversica campaigns as a whole.
Yeah, I think that pie chart's really interesting because for most teams, at least early on, most teams were looking at Conversica or the AI motion being best for membership sales alone. And so the way you've expanded it, used it for suite premium as well as groups, the fact that you're generating 82% of the overall revenue through Conversica and those different conversation paths is really, really interesting to see. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
One question I had, and this may be a little too abstract to answer, but the 3% lift as far as the performance through Conversica versus team members is obviously great to see. And falls in line with a little bit of what Clarissa from the Pirates said and Jason from the Jets. But do you have any sense for just why that's why Conversica is performing at such a better clip versus the team members? The team
Yeah.
members, correct?
My sense is mostly just that I think number of touch points. Like I think for the most part,
Yeah.
anytime we have reps who have renewal clients or inbound, there's a cold list. We typically see they've made 2 or 3 attempts and gotten no engagement. Those 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th attempts either are happening, much later in the process, or they're not happening at all, or there's just kind of like a reluctance or kind of like a quick to move on from that or request new leads. So I think as much as we try to like be consistent in those outreach campaigns and say, you're working that lead through 7 touch points before it's closed. I think the consistency of Conversica actually running through those touch points and knowing what we know about like how many leads turn hot after touch point 5 and 6. I just think that's happening a little bit less frequently with the colder lists on the rep outreach side.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And then that's something we see within our data that most clients are engaging after touch point 5 or 6. So it's that consistency of it. It's seeing the multiple messages. It's coming through that it takes the volume of outreach to ultimately guide them towards that engagement point, which unfortunately through human outreach, it's tough with team members when they're trying to work a large volume of leads. Naturally, things slip through the cracks. So appreciate the insight.
Yeah. And then this last slide, just wanted to expand a little bit on the concept of using Conversica for renewal campaigns. Talked a little bit about it as that cross-sell tool for memberships, but we have used it on the group and suite side to engage with buyers from the previous year, which we consider, a renewal opportunity, who have not been responsive. So, on the business side, the challenge there is just that we've seen a high volume of unresponsive group and suite buyers after that first or even second wave of rep outreach. So when it's fall, we're starting, kind of that early outreach to say, you bought last year, we want to give you first opportunity or special pricing or whatever that is. So I'll run through those campaigns and still see the majority of their list like not responding. So as we got closer to the season, we really wanted to try to get back with those folks, but closer to the season, reps have much more limited bandwidth in terms of their ability to kind of run through that full campaign. So there was some sensitivity to doing automated outreach to a customer group that's kind of highest valued. And we definitely, wanted to be sensitive to that, but again, using that first line to kind of set the understanding that they're being contacted on behalf of their Giants rep and kind of a partner in the process, not replacing someone or not meant to create any confusion with who you should go to for your suite needs. We kind of ultimately landed on a couple of ways to make sure that we weren't, kind of negatively impacting these important customers. We did limit these campaigns to fewer touch points. So we just limited it to 5 instead of the usual 7, just because we know they've heard from us a lot. We didn't want to, I wanted to hear the rep and manager feedback. We don't want to bombard them with messaging. So we cut it down a little bit. Use that conversation starter, and then we really targeted only those who were in a contact attempted stage, which means for us that a rep has reached out, but we've not heard anything back. So it was about half of our list, and the thinking there is that if we haven't heard from them, even if they hear from them even if they respond and say like, who are you? You're not who I work with. That's again, still a win, and that we've heard from them. Hopefully we can pick it up from there and move, the suite planning process forward. Great results on the suite side as well as the group side. This year we closed 33% of those that we ran through the campaign for 171K. So, how much of that would end up coming back later in the sales cycle, like we don't know, but it was a great way to do it right before the season started, use the urgency of opening day, and as a kind of to further like solidify that reason why you're hearing from someone else, we did that later in the messaging campaign to say, opening day is coming up. I want to make sure you're taken care of before, games start to sell out or whatever it might be. So just kind of further like drove home that point that there's urgency there and that there's a clear reason why someone else from the Giants is reaching out to try to help you. But overall, I think everyone's gotten to a great place with this. The contacts and the hot leads are assigned as such that if you own the opportunity, that's the same rep who gets the hot lead. So it really is just kind of seen as an assistant throughout the process. And I think everyone's gotten to a good place with feeling comfortable about the automation.
Yeah, it's really really great to see. You guys are doing a heck of a job putting it in action, and for everybody on the call, as I mentioned, the goal of this forum is to not only provide the overarching insights into Conversica performance within live entertainment, but also provide some tactical use cases that you can put into action within your market. And even looking at the email example that you have here, Ashley, it's great to see what's actually working as you deploy these different initiatives. This is a really good example where oftentimes as we look at AI, we think about getting broader in our outreach. There's also some really positive use cases in utilizing the platform and engaging those leads that were at one point warm and have just gone quiet on you. And I remember a number of times coaching team members and going through their pipeline and talking about these leads that had just gone cold and they were sitting in their pipeline, they had gone stale. The approach that you're taking and incorporating a different voice and driving that re-engagement is great to see. And I know Madison has some other examples that are somewhat similar to this that they've seen success with on the Spurs side. So great to see the success. And I'm always curious on the team member response. I'm sure similar to the last example, there was maybe some initial hesitation, but then I'm sure this is a popular motion within the team when you generate $171,000 from it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think especially on the rep side, there's always a little bit of like protectiveness over relationships or accounts. And the more we try to position it again, it's just a way to get those folks talking to you, the more everyone kind of got on board. And I think again, seeing those, leads come in that are converting quickly always helps to get on board too. Typically by the time their renewal clients were turning hot in this campaign, they were, for the most part, ready to talk dates and prices. And so I think running through that a few times and seeing some success there definitely helped the team get on board.
Cool. A question from Abby Bush to everybody. Thanks, Abby, for the question. How far back are people going in their lapsed buyers?
Yeah, I can start and then obviously anyone else can chime in on the chat. We typically go back no more than 5 seasons. So right now we're 19 through 24 in terms of those we'd consider a past buyer lead, just because we usually see that contact info gets a little bit less dependable when we go back further than that. But that's how we've set it up at least.
Madison, is that about the same for you in San Antonio?
Yeah, I would say to just thinking pre-COVID and post-COVID, we've also made changes to our pricing since COVID. And so the pricing that they may have purchased back in the day is maybe not the pricing that we currently have. So could come up as sticker shock to them after going through those conversations. So just trying to be mindful of what were we selling back then and what are we selling now?
You guys got Victor Wembanyama and prices got a little bit more expensive, huh?
Just a couple times.
Good. Yeah, I think Abby, it's a great question. I think that the perspective from Ashley and Madison is really positive. I think the 5 years as a general rule of thumb is fair, and then also being cognizant of any significant changes to your business to where it makes sense. But I think overarching with team members where it gets really challenging as you deploy some of those campaigns that are further out is it takes one team member to say, hey, these leads aren't great, these leads are bad, nobody wants to talk, and word spreads through the office and very quickly they're not calling the leads and ultimately they don't perform at the level you want. There's buyers within these campaigns, there's buyers within these lapsed buyers, these passing away buyers, past members. The consistency and the outreach is really the key to that motion and finding them. But I think the guidance from Madison and Ashley around 5 years and then being sensitive to changes to the business are some great perspective. All right. Ashley, thanks again for the insight. We will kick it over to Madison. Madison, I gotta ask, Game 3 of the NBA Finals last night. What was the best part of the finals before we talk through the use cases?
I have to say, all of the yellow shirts looked really great. The atmosphere was amazing. The Pacers put on a great game. It was awesome to be there. Um, I'll root for both. I don't have a preference, but good luck to both of those teams.
Good PR approach in saying you're cheering for both teams. That's good. So anybody from Oklahoma City or Indiana that's on the call, we're just hoping for no injuries across both teams and everybody has fun.
Good games, yeah.
We'll kick it over to San Antonio. You guys have been through an exciting stretch just on the court, right? With some positive wins with Wembanyama, with draft picks, with Chris Paul going to San Antonio, but would love to hear some of the ways you're using Conversica and some of the success stories you're seeing as a result.
Absolutely. So we've been using Conversica since 2018, I believe. So it's been a while, and we've tried a bunch of different campaigns. I'm going to highlight 3 campaigns that have done really well the past 2 years. So the first one is our opt-out campaign. And so similar to what Ashley did with suites, we did that with our season ticket memberships. So we needed to re-engage with these members who had recently opted out of a membership. It was really important to get in front of them sooner rather than later, to talk through those options so that they didn't necessarily get cold, and that we could quickly re-engage with them with potential options. So these folks were unresponsive to their current reps, whether that be the service rep or the sales rep, and wanted to try and introduce them to someone else as an additional point of contact. We knew that some of these leads maybe were full season members, or maybe they didn't fully understand all of the benefits that they had as part of being a member, and wanted to make sure that they were more so aware of their options, to make sure that they knew of their options before completely opting out. So that was kind of the approach that we took when it came to the messaging, was just wanting to let them know that we had different options, wanted to make sure that they had awareness around all of the benefits, and see if they'd like to talk to their representative about what that would look like. Similar to Ashley, like we're pretty strategic on the messaging because they did have a sales rep or a service rep and wanted to be cognizant of that. What we found, though, is that by introducing a new point of contact, we had an increase of engagement. And just looking back, it seems like maybe they have such great relationships with their service or sales rep that maybe they don't want to admit that, hey, I'm not coming back. And so introducing that new point of contact where maybe they're not as familiar with that person, but willing to discuss maybe why they did opt out, was helpful. We leveraged our benefits in package options as part of that messaging. Another thing that was different with this campaign is we decided to do a 3 email outreach, knowing that their current sales or service rep had reached out to them multiple times. We felt a 3 email approach was enough to be able to gauge their interest and not feel that we were overwhelming them. Overall, the results were amazing. We had over $800,000 in renewal and new sales revenue, including some of those actually being upsells based off of different us then going through the different package options and benefits as part of those different seat options. So it was really great to see. Ended up 95 accounts either coming back or adding seats, or even including some referrals.
The numbers are really impressive. 818K and through this campaign of leads that otherwise that they had already told that they didn't want to maintain their membership. It's really impressive to see how you were able to bring them back, and ultimately the revenue numbers you were able to drive through the campaign. I'm curious as far as timing. You mentioned this was in follow-up to the opt-out. How close to the opt-out did you deploy the communication, and then how did that operate in between your relocation events and some of your continued member motions?
Yeah, almost immediately. And I think that's where we found the most success. So we actually did a similar campaign for our 25-26 opt-outs. So this is referring back to our 24-25 opt-outs. And we waited about a month, and that was too long. And so we haven't seen as much success from that. So we believe the quicker you can get them into Conversica and start working them, the better.
That makes sense. So the timing is huge as far as making it a quick follow-up to the recent decision.
For sure. And next season when we do this, we will definitely go back to the immediate follow-up.
So how often were you deploying it? Was it one deployment at the end of your opt-out campaign, or was it staggered based on when they were coming in?
Based off of when they would opt out. So I believe it was like weekly at that point. At the end of each week, we would then include them into the campaign. So it's much more frequent than what we are currently doing with our campaign.
That's smart. And you got a question from Justin Price around tracking or revenue tracking. How do you track the revenue from the campaign? Is it through CRM, or what do you use to track that?
Specific campaign in CRM, we use Microsoft Dynamics, and then that's how we track the number of opportunities once Ashley has gotten in touch with them, and then close rate.
Okay. And Justin, I see we unmuted you there. Any follow-up question to that, or does that the insight you were looking for?
No, it does. That's my question. And then just a follow-up question to like my initial question. Do you all have a specific source for your service rep as far as like, so say you come at the beginning of the day, you see service source tracking, like is it broad or do you have it like on a campaign level?
So we once this came through Conversica and it was considered hot, then that's when the sales rep or the service rep created that opportunity within CRM, and then they worked that opportunity within CRM.
Cool.
Does that help answer?
Got it. That makes sense.
Thanks, Madison. Thanks for the question, Justin. Again, please keep the questions going. It's helpful. We want to make sure you all are getting as much out of this forum as possible. Madison, we'll continue on. So ticket forwards.
Yeah, this was a new one that we did and tried this year. So the audience was all of our ticket forwards from the previous season. So it was someone that was forwarded these tickets. So they may have not necessarily purchased it outright. They may have purchased it from a secondary, or they may have been given the tickets from maybe their business or from family, friends, that sort of thing. And these were leads that we typically did not touch. So it was a very large list. We had over 40,000 leads that had not been touched from these forwards. And kind of the business challenge was we have limited rep bandwidth for lower priority leads, since these were potentially just like individual game buyers essentially. But the difference was that they had been forwarded these tickets to some capacity. So we put them through Conversica and put them through the traditional 7 email event follow-up campaign, and found a lot of success with this. I think important around this campaign was like these leads were probably never going to be worked if we had not put them through Conversica. That's 40,000 leads with a team of 16. That's a lot of leads that we could say maybe they're not worth it, but ultimately generated over $230,000.
Madison, question on this, because your point of these being leads that would never be worked, it makes me think of group ticket transfers. I would imagine those group tickets would fall into this bucket as well, right?
Correct. Any transfer or forward that happened. So it could also be, group transfers.
Yeah, look, I think that's a good one to call out. I'm sure specifically Ashley with the Giants. I'm sure you've thought about this as well. But a lot of those groups that come out, the tickets get transferred out, and I remember having reps saying that they felt somewhat territorial over those leads because it was their group, but they never got called. And there's some quality in that lead bucket and making efficient outreach to them. So great to see that you guys attacked it and generated just over $237,000. That's a significant revenue total that otherwise would have just never been reached out to.
For sure. Another one I was going to call out was just Sweet Fords as well.
Oh, good call out. Really good call out. Do you differentiate the communication at all based on the product they receive, whether that be Sweet Forwards or group tickets or
We
any?
did. So we divided up between, we did technically two different campaigns. So this is all encompassing of this data, but we did a premium forward campaign and then a non-premium forward campaign. And we did adjust the messaging based off of what they had been forwarded.
Yeah, that's smart. Anything else to note on this slide, Madison?
I think so.
Continue on. So this was a great one as well between partial plan membership and the approach you took for individual game buyers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know individual game buyers, I think, is where they are maybe lower on the totem pole for rep outreach. And so what we've done is we've done all of our individual game outreach through Conversica. And so we've done it a couple of different ways each year. The year that we found the most success and what we will continue to do moving forward is during the 23-24 season, we actually took every individual game buyer from that previous month and launched them through Conversica. So they had been, let's say, to a game in October, and then they were getting that first outreach in November. So thanking them for coming out to the game, and then talking about, our different package options and wanting to connect them with their rep to learn more. So really focused on partial plan memberships as they are individual game buyers. So they've essentially potentially only come out to one game. Some good call outs with this one is, as you can see with the data, the January IGB campaign, so that means that they were December buyers and we launched them in January. That was part of our ticket launch for the 24-25 season. So this was technically during the 23-24 season, but we had now moved on to new sales for 24-25. And with that kickoff of those individual game buyers generated $155,000, but then backing up. So those November IGVs that you can see on the data, and this is the messaging for those November buyers, is interesting to see because a lot of the times our reps are kind of moving focus into the next season, getting ready, building up their pipeline to then go on sale for the following season. And this kind of showed us that sales are not dead in November. There's still a lot of opportunity to generate additional revenue, even when maybe you have a really small payment plan or your packages are smaller. So we were offering a minimum 5-game package. And that's kind of the messaging that we went out with these November IGBs and generated 96,000. So I think that was great to see that although maybe we were already shifting into the next season, there was still a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, it's a good call out, and I think within NBA and NHL, just given the season, I think that that November December timeframe is kind of unique, where a lot of team members will just hold the lead until early bird launches. So great to see the success that you were able to drive. Did you do anything in particular as far as the differences in your messaging? I know you mentioned that the emails were different based on the month, but were there any specific nuances you saw that were most impactful?
Think highlighting the different benefits that we had, and we tested and learned, like one month we may have really emphasized our payment plan because it was at a really long payment offering, and then maybe the November, January, February, maybe those were more so focused on our ticket exchange and some of the other benefits. So capitalizing on the benefits when they are more of a benefit during that time, and then shifting to more of our evergreen benefits when maybe payments were smaller and things.
This is really great insight, Madison. Thanks so much for walking us through this. I'll pause before transitioning for any questions from the group. Couple good ones that have come through already, but the insight again from Madison as well as Ashley into things that are working with their teams is really really powerful, and we'll make sure to send out this deck and follow up to this forum to ensure that everybody has some time to digest it, think about it, and I encourage you to follow up with your Conversica representative for any follow-up questions. We're happy to shed additional light, perspective, and ensure you have all the information you need to implement these types of motions within your markets. A couple big things that stand out to me is just the way both of you are using Conversica, not only to get broad with your outreach, but also supplement your team member outreach for some of those warmer campaigns and the success that you're able to see from it. Ashley, I love how you're looking at targeting premium by proximity, specifically for those day games where it's easier for somebody to walk over from an office building. And then very simply ensuring that those transfer leads don't go untouched. It's a big one. I think most teams recognize the value of those leads, but unfortunately, it's such a large volume. Oftentimes, they don't get engaged the right way, or if they do get deployed in a call campaign, it's really scattered as far as that outreach. So great to see the way you attacked that, Madison, and the results you were able to drive from that. But thank you both for taking the time to walk all of us through this.
You.
With that, we'll transition over to our director of product, John.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks everybody for sharing so much so far. I think what you've heard from Madison and Ashley so far is that, Conversica has been very impactful in helping maximize communication and having conversational engagement with their fans. Conversica is here. Everything that we're driven on the product side is to focus on that, is grounded on that mission to help you sell more tickets and connect with your fans. So we have three key areas that we're going to focus on today. Fan signals is going to be focused on understanding what your customers are talking about, what they're asking about, and kind of how do we get ahead of optimizing the AI's capabilities to and up level your team's conversations. And then moving into the second category we're going to talk about is the brand accurate personalization. How do we improve the personalization of every attempt, creating unique messages that really speak to your audience and your fans, and making sure that that's not impacted or allows you to scale without utilizing your human reps interventions. And then the last one is omnichannel. We have some capabilities I want to introduce to you that was currently available, but I also want to note that we are looking at other channels as we advance into the space a little bit further. But we really want to make sure that we're connecting with the fans in the channel that they're interacting with the most. So if we move on to the next slide here, the first category we're here focused on is again driving deeper insights with what your fans are asking and interacting with the AI on. So making sure that we identify any gaps in detection or knowledge detection around what your customers are asking and where the AI was unable to answer. So we don't want your reps, or you don't want your reps, to be answering questions like, does a 2-year-old need a ticket, or what time do the gates open, or anything along the lines of bag policies, where these are repeatable questions and answers that an AI can take off your team's plate and allow them to focus on those higher impact revenue conversations. And so this tool will be able to automate and give you that. We'll be giving you some tooling to allow you to fill in those gaps on the knowledge to allow us to answer those questions for you in a supervised way, leveraging all the AI space here. This was just, again, truly focused on maximizing efficiency, removing those mundane tasks from your representatives, and allowing them to focus on the conversations that matter the most.
Yeah, I think it's a huge incorporation. I appreciate you calling it out, John. Those examples that you shared as far as 2-year-old need a ticket, what's bag policy, where's parking, what time the doors open. There's questions that come in high volume. There are questions that come in on high volume on game days, and they need a response. It's just not an efficient process to have your service team members or sales team members having to field those questions. So using those tools to help guide the customer experience, get them their answers swiftly, and free up your team members is a huge win. I know for me personally, the amount of times I've been asked, does a 2-year-old need a ticket, is more than I would like to remember, but it was questions that had to get responded to. So I appreciate the call out here, John, because it's a huge incorporation in improving efficiency.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one for sure. Coming into the next investment area that we're focused on is creating hyper personalization in every message, making sure every fan gets a unique message, but no matter what the campaign is, allowing us to kind of step away from that robotic feel and have a more human-like conversation with them. Maybe we can start referencing the previous games that they've personally registered, and some of this stuff is capable of happening today with some manual intervention from you guys. But what our focus on in this initiative is really automating that task, pulling in the data that you already have available, that you're already referencing in those game messages, and having the AI automatically craft that message for you on the fly, and also dynamically responding with a contextual aware conversation when they do provide us with additional data in the responses themselves. And may that be a different channel or whatnot. Again, this one comes back to one size does not fit all, right? Like every conversation needs to be personalized, and if you're spending time crafting or adjusting those messages on our side, it's taking away your time from having those valuable conversations with the customers. And then we believe this one will increase those again, back to that engagement and creating personalization will increase that engagement and hot lead rate, so you guys can break through to those fans a little bit better.
Oh, you hit a little bit. You talk about the feels human, and I think the world has changed quite a bit over the past few years, just as far as the openness to AI. But that human touch is still something that's critically important to the process. We should just a little bit more perspective as far as how you look at that and how we ensure the automation is there, but also maintain that human feel to these conversations that is such a differentiator.
Yeah, I think our engagement attempts have always kind of felt human organically when we reach out. I think where the breakdown in the current conversation structure is the responses we receive, and getting a templated response back seems a little less human. And so this one is really geared towards focusing on how do we acknowledge the information or enrich the next message that we're receiving or that we're going to send based off of the context that we received from the customer, and maybe where they're currently at in their buying process.
Awesome. Thank you, John.
And it's really, and this is VJ from Conversica, but it's really about system, like what makes it a human? It's about personalization, right? Is knowing everything about the lead as much as possible so that it feels like human. That's what we mean by human, right? So it's instead of like John alluded to, templated messages is very easy to do to blast a bunch of people, but the system intuitively knowing that everything about the business, your business as a sports team, as well as the lead information, combining that information to hyper personalization is going to give you that click through, right? So that's the main focus. But yeah, just wanted to add that.
Thank you, VJ.
Yeah, and so the next category we currently have available on our to you. What we find here is, we find faster replies and higher engagement through SMS. And so when we reach out to customers and offer them the ability to start communicating to us via SMS, we see a 77% faster reply rate. So instead of that 12-day or 5-day hot lead rate, we're seeing less than a day. In most cases, when we start texting customers, we see the engagement increase by 5 times. And then we also see hot lead rates increase by 6 times when we start engaging with those customers. Again, faster replies leads to faster conversions, less time that your team has to spend on interacting or reaching out to that lead. So we do want to encourage all of you to add the SMS channel that we currently have available. And the great thing about this is we'll start an email, we'll switch automatically to SMS once we receive consent. That consent will post back to your CRM, and it's all fully integrated with your CRM. And then next time we reach out to those candidates, we can actually just skip email altogether and go directly to SMS once we have that consent. And so again, I just wanted to echo that we are TCPA compliant in every step of the way, and we're monitoring that and consent. And we're fully integrated with the CRM to post this information back once we capture the consent. Again, fully maximizing the efficiency gains that SMS as a channel can offer you and your team.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting this, John. I think for the teams on the call, this is a massive game changer. And most of the teams I've talked to, even when I was on the team side, I recognized the value of SMS. I knew it was the most responsive communication we had out there, and was always blown away by the amount of six-figure deals I saw my team members knocking down via text. But there's a lot of legalities around it. And so when we bring up text to teams, most teams immediately default to thinking mass texting and have some trepidation around it. Where I believe this threads the needle, to John's point, is that we can begin that conversation in email, determine how that fan wants to be communicated to, and if they say text, pivot that conversation to text where we know the responsiveness is going to be greater, and that path to a yes or no is going to be that much more swifter than it will be if we continue in that email format. So this is part of the Conversica platform that is available today. So this is something that you want to put into action for your team. Please reach out to your customer success manager, to your account executive, to me, whoever that may be, so we can begin the conversation. But this is a key part of the platform that we're really excited about going forward, and teams are already putting into action and seeing great success in shortening that sales process, adding people to their SMS opt-in list, and improving just overall efficiency within the buying process. So, John, thanks again for calling it out. John, any other items on your end to highlight?
I think that's the focus here. I think, I just want to emphasize once we capture that consent, it really does open the door for us to jump in straight away with SMS. So, yeah, that's what I got today.
If there's any call outs or questions for John, please post them to the chat. But look, once again, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to hop on the call today. This is an exciting time for Conversica as a whole, and this forum is the first of many that we're looking to conduct. We have established a specific verticalized team that's our sports and entertainment team that's going to really focus exclusively on working with teams and leagues across the world to ensure that we're sharing best practices, that we're continuing to work with John and team on how we can develop and enhance the platform, but putting steps into action that are going to help you sell more tickets and sell more sponsorships at the most basic level. But to highlight a few team members that are on the call, Brian Ridge and Derek Hedinger are our customer success managers. They'll work directly with teams once teams get up and running, and are two of the best I know as far as getting in and truly working to understand what some of those challenges that teams are dealing with, and highlighting where this platform can help them in solving those. We also have Charles Tanous, who's our senior strategic account executive. And Charles works directly with teams and getting them up and running, understanding on the front end what pain points they're dealing with, and highlighting where this platform can be most intentional. And then Stephen Walters is our marketing lead that's helping us in showcasing how this platform can be most impactful, and helping us tell the story as far as how this vertical can continue to grow and be most successful for teams and leagues around the world. So wanted to highlight them. Everybody on this call likely interacts with some, if not all of them, but they're the key team members to make this platform really go within sports, as well as Kavit Patel, who's on the call, who's really our advisory solutions engineer. You'll speak to Kavit on demos as he speaks to the specific use cases and how it goes into action for your teams. I will pause there. Kelly has a question. How do teams strategize and handle the decisions on when to use Conversica for sales campaigns versus email marketing campaigns, especially automated journeys? I think it's a really good question, Kelly, and I see you're unmuted if there's any additional color you want to add to that.
We're fairly new to Conversica, so we've been, sending sales campaigns through our marketing email system. So now I'm trying to understand the balance between what to continue to send through our email marketing system versus what to put through to Conversica. Just that kind of split to help us get started.
Yeah, go ahead, Charles. I see you on mute. You wanna go ahead and take this one?
Yeah, I can start. Yeah, Kelly, great question. I would say the best things that I've seen the teams do, and just being here for so long, and just integrating with marketing automation, sales automation. Think of like marketing automation. First thing is we want to just complement what you're doing, so don't change anything. And the best way to think about it is you're bringing us in as you would have like a sales rep reach out to every lead in a sales approach. So the best thing to do is, hey, marketing automation, good for like pushing content, educating your buyers on what you do to where they like click on a link or there's some kind of action, and then you would have Conversica come in to actually have the conversation and point to like an end goal, whether it's setting up a call, booking a time for an event, or purchasing a ticket on, online, right? So it's just the best way of like, hey, anything that there's a two-way conversation, that's where Conversica is a great fit. Marketing automation is really good for like just pushing content and just getting, branding and awareness out there. I'd say that those are like the best complement. And Jason, I see you raise your hand. I think you can give a good amount of info there on the jet side.
Yeah, I'm happy to help, Kelly. So we've actually recently started to dive into this a bit more. We've always done our fair share of marketing, sales, emails, and what we've started to do more recently is look more deliberately at the data of people that have opened and clicked on whatever links are in there and maybe haven't moved forward with a purchase of any kind, and we've retargeted them back through Conversica. So we've had a good amount of success with that recently, and I think we'll continue to explore how we can potentially do that better. But we look at it as Conversica isn't replacing the efforts that we put forth on the marketing side. We certainly need our marketing team's help to get the word out, and they have the capability of doing that. But then we can more strategically target people that didn't move forward with the purchase but engaged with the marketing emails.
Exactly. Good.
Thanks, Jason. Clarissa, do you have anything to add? I see your hand go up.
Yeah, I think we're in a similar boat with the two of them. I think the other thing that is super helpful with Conversica is we can reach out to people like those ticket forwards who aren't necessarily registered users. So it helps us bypass those people who are interested in attending a game, and we're able to follow up with them using a different platform.
Awesome. Great question.
Yeah, really good one.
Well, once again, this is our sports entertainment vertical team, so that we'll be working closely with teams, both on the front end of coming together on a partnership, as well as executing the entire partnership going forward. But really, our goal is to act as an extension of your team and be most impactful in helping you realize the goals that you have in place.
Yeah, and Kelly, happy to dive deeper at that with Derek on our calls together, and yeah, get those campaigns straightened out for you. So yeah, please let us know. So hopefully that was helpful for you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you.
So what things look like from here, we'll be sending out some follow-up materials here in the coming days. All materials are going to be posted to a community page that you'll have access to. We'll get a recording sent out early next week. That recording is going to be broken up between a full version. If you want to sit around for 90 minutes and watch it beginning to end, you can. We'll also have clips of as far as key highlights and takeaways from this forum that you'll be able to put into action. We'll be sending out a survey as well, and within that survey, please take the time to provide feedback. As I mentioned, to kick things off, our goal with these forums is to provide value, to provide content that's meaningful to you, and getting the feedback from you will help us to continue to improve and develop these forums. Our plan right now is to look to execute these forums every other month. So the next iteration of this will take place in August, and we'll also be taking some time to look at just time of year, some of the key things that leagues and teams will be working on as they plan towards upcoming sales campaigns and service campaigns, and highlighting some of those use cases that can be helpful as you go through those planning phases. But Madison, Ashley, thank you again for being our lead use cases, sharing insight into your respective organizations. The content was super impactful, so thank you both.
Thank you guys. Feel free to reach out with any questions that you might have.
Awesome. And any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or anybody else from the Conversica team, but we'll get these items sent out. And again, thank you all for taking the time and for your partnership. We look forward to speaking soon. Have a good rest of your Thursday.
Thanks, everyone.